Good evening, everyone. For those of you that are still at the bar getting your last drink, please do so quickly because I am honored to have with us tonight Mayor John Whitmire, the 63rd mayor of the Houston, Texas. Please give him a warm Houston welcome. So, Mayor, this is going to be, you probably have heard, we do a very interactive session. We don't serve up softball questions, and we've done great research. As you can see, our 007 packet I'm opening here, that this will share a little bit. We want this audience to know you even better than we do, but I'm so delighted to have you come here. This is really a great forum. And for everyone in the audience, this is a member in our house just for dinner, right? So we want to be able to speak freely and openly. This is not a political get-together. Anyone here that has other motivations, I ask you to leave now because we're going to really have a wonderful conversation with our mayor. So first and foremost, I'm going to ask all of the group. We highly participate in this audience, so I want you to get your phones out, not often asked in a crowd, and get your text message ready because all of the questions that we have are going to be sent through to us, and we'll ask the mayor live questions at a certain segment of this presentation, all right? So, as I said, Mayor, here we go in the interactive session. Tell us about this picture.
That's the Hill County Courthouse located in Hillsboro, Texas, where I was born. We left when I was about 4 to Pasadena, actually on Heights, then Pasadena. But the amazing thing, after my family divorced when I was 7, my mother remarried a gentleman, older, elderly gentleman from Hillsboro. So between Hillsboro and Lake Whitney, 12 miles west, we lived out in the country. I attended Whitney Elementary, I had 30 kids in my class, but everyone goes to the county seat on Saturday to shop, do your laundry if you're going to a washateria, which we did. And it had a tremendous fire, gutted in the early 90s, and Bob Bullock, very powerful lieutenant governor, got the highway department to restore it. And now we actually have a statewide courthouse restoration program. There are some beautiful, in fact, some people have actually made it a retreat to go visit all the 254 counties and look at these Gothic-looking courthouses. My father was a county clerk, so his picture's in there. So you just hit me with one that goes back in time, but that's kind of the roots right there.
All right.
Where everyone took care of one another. So I was very fortunate. In 9th grade, we came back to Houston so my brother could live at home and go to U of H. And so I tell folks I have small town values and big city opportunities. So it's a pretty good mix. Thank you.
All right, so we're going to test.
Now I'm worried about what else you're going to bring up.
So,
Because I was prepared to talk about traffic and health care.
no,
You want to talk about my football career?
that's coming. So we thought we would test
was
your
a-
knowledge of Hillsboro, all right? And
Yeah.
we dig very deep. When we often ask your teams or teams of people we host here, they usually give us the standard fare of answers and they shut the door. So we go off on our own research, and our marketing team, led by Tatum Martins, does an amazing job. So, who is the city Hillsboro named after?
Beats me.
Well, all right. It was Dr. George W. Hill. He was a surgeon from Tennessee, so you're already tying in to the medical center, and was the first settler of Navarro County. There's more. All right. When was the Hillsborough County Courthouse burned down in 1993? What famous musician helped with the rebuild?
Willie Nelson.
Oh, I thought we were going to have to give you some music to really help you along.
Willie Nelson grew up the road in Abbott, Texas. And
Okay. All right, tell me about this couple.
Bonnie and Clyde, wasn't it?
Yes, it is. Well, Bonnie and Clyde have a history in Hillsborough as well.
I didn't know.
You're going to know more about Hillsborough than you ever care to when you're done here. But they actually, in 1932, they robbed a J.N. Butcher General Store in Hillsborough.
Before my time.
Before your time. Okay? There's more. Okay?
I know what that is. That became the jail.
That is.
That is the jail.
Yes, that is the jail. And
I was
Elvis
never
Presley
in it.
spent
I
a
was
night
too
there.
young.
In '83, Elvis Presley spent a night there in county jail for drunken behavior. So there's a lot. Okay, now this is a new one.
I didn't know Elvis. I didn't know Elvis.
Okay, this is a great one. So this was a hoax, but back in 1897, a woman that thought Aurora was being passed by because they didn't have a train stop there fabricated this story of a UFO sighting to actually bring attention to Aurora. We thought it was quite entrepreneurial. All right, so Carrie Marcus. Do you know who Carrie Marcus is?
Neiman Marcus family?
Yes, Carrie Marcus was from Hillsborough and created the Neiman Marcus Company. As I said, you're going to go home so much more knowledgeable. Okay.
Do you know how prepared I got for this? And I've got notes here that I want to bring up. And we're going back.
All right, I'm almost done, I promise. Do you know this gentleman?
Red Duke.
Red Duke, of course. This is our Red Duke, who created the Life Flight program here based on his experiences in the Korean War, what really brought surgical, I mean, most people think life flight starts here. We have 12, now 13 helicopters. It's the largest program in the country. Most people think it starts at the medical center, and then we hear about a drowning, or we hear about a car accident, and we send our helicopters out. It's a very opposite of that. Our helicopters are actually out in our communities, and they are there closer. And that's what the MASH units actually discovered, is you didn't have enough time to get patients or soldiers back. You had to have your mobile surgical hospitals right there. And what Red Duke has done for so many lives saved. So I'm like the Aflac duck. So every time a helicopter goes by, and when my daughters are around me, I just, this is well, anyway. Let's move forward. So you made your journey from Hillsborough to Houston. An exciting time, and we know that you were an ag. We had Dr. Couture here. We had a huge showing so tell us about your time at the University of Houston.
Well, I went to a community college the first 2 years. I was supposed to go to Stephen F. Austin, but I got a summer job, and everyone said, you need to get freshman English out of the way. So I went to what is U of H downtown now. It was South Texas Junior College, it was called. And believe it or not, the small class sizes, I did well, which was a departure from other years. But anyway, I worked for the 2 years with the State Welfare Department in the food stamp program, those 2 years of community college, then went out to U of H. And I was actually a senior at U of H, and you're going to probably say I see Dr. Murray. I needed more time for a paper, so I went by his office in the fall of '71, and he said, where do you live? And I showed him Oak Forest. And he said, the Supreme Court had just drawn single-member districts. Prior to the '72 campaign, you ran countywide. The state representatives ran countywide. There were about 17. And you either had to be on a slate or you had to have your independent money to get elected. No diversity. All white males. But the Supreme Court said that violated one man, one vote. So they divided our county into districts. So Dr. Murray's looking at this new map and he said, where do you live? I said, Oak Forest. He looked at it, he said, there's no incumbent. The incumbent state reps were trying to gather in the district where they lived, but this one was vacant. So when I looked at it, it had my church, my high school, other contacts, and I said, looks like they drew that one for me. I guess I was 22.
Yes.
I went home and told my parents. Remember, they'd gotten a divorce, so I had two sets. I had to explain to one, then I had to go explain to the other. But I didn't want to go To college in the spring of 72, I wanted to run for office. I'd saved $5,000 to go to law school. And my father, remember, he was a county clerk when I was young, too young to remember. He said, you might as well. Can you imagine the life-altering decision if he'd have just said, no, you've got the rest of your life to run for office, get your degree. But he said, you might as well. So I stayed out the spring of 72. The primaries were in May. I had the 5,000. I bought some signs and cards and started knocking doors. Every door between Hempstead Highway, 45, Pinemont, and 11th, I knocked all of them once and many of them twice. Because I was the hometown, having gone to high school in the district, you knock on people's door, and I was clean cut. 72, the Vietnam War is declining, actually coming to an end. Most of the kids my age, hair down to their shoulders, protesting, having fun at concerts, whatnot. I would knock on someone's door and they'd look at my card and say, you went to Waltrip High School? I said, yes, ma'am. She said, my kids went to school there. Did you know Ellen Murray? And I said, oh yeah, well, how's she doing?
Oh, goodness.
It worked. So I had a labor candidate opponent, a business, a couple of locals, and I got in a runoff with the business. And most of the opponents thought I was doing it as a class project. So they didn't really badmouth me until I got in a runoff. And remember, I had very limited funds. You knock doors to dark, go to a friend's garage, build your signs, put them out to about midnight, and you get up the next morning, they're all gone because they knew I couldn't replace them. So anyway, I got there truly with the help of the community, and I've never forgotten it. I know individuals that had little coffees or teas. I know people who have signs in their yard, and that's why you got elected in 72. It worked across Houston. I could start naming people. K. Belly Hutchison got elected out of Tanglewood. Sophronia Thompson in Northeast Houston. Ben Reyes in the East End. Truly lets you represent your district. Now, times have changed. It's so expensive. So expensive. Mailing is so expensive. Advertisement. I'm not sure you could pull that off today. Yeah. In fact, we see the special interest groups funding most of the campaigns. Big dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars in the state rep race, which I think has certainly been harmful to good government and representation because I know who put me in office. And unfortunately, a lot of special interests elect current members. Right. It's a major departure. Now, what's fascinating is I was running as a Democrat. I am a Democrat. But when I got to Austin, there's 150 House members. The Democrats ran the place. Conservative Democrats, mostly rural Democrats. 150 House members, there were only 17 Republicans. We didn't even discuss party identity. We all worked together. And if you want to ask me in my career, one of the more harmful transitions I've seen is that we've gotten so partisan. And people go and run for office on single issues, guns, health care, women's rights, one single issue, and that's all they really focus on instead of the community's interests. So anyway, we live in a great place, but someday I'm going to talk about, the 17 Republicans, now they run the place. There's 85 Republicans, and I saw the same thing. I went to the Senate in 82, watched the same transformation, and now Republicans hold every statewide position. So it's been a major departure. Those conservative rural Democrats became Republicans. So issues are somewhat similar, but certainly it's become much, much partisan. Yeah. I've been fortunate to make the transition, working across the aisle and getting things done because even today, garbage pickup is not a Republican Democratic issue. I'll work with anyone that wants to improve our lives.
Yeah. So you remember the show when we were younger called This Is Your Life, and they would roll out your high school teacher and everyone start crying. Well, we invited Dr. Richard Murray. He couldn't make it. He's in Colorado, but he gave us this quote. One of the pleasures of teaching at the University of Houston was the opportunity to meet students from diverse and often challenging backgrounds, like John Whitmire. I met John in the fall of '71 when he was working his way through college and saving money to law school. In one class, we focused on recently enacted Texas state legislative plan. Poring over the map with me, John noted the new state house districts, including his Holt School and adjacent neighborhoods, and no incumbent. It was, he thought, a district that a local boy could win with hard work and little money. Law school could wait. John Whitmire's successful shoe leather campaign in the spring of '72 was followed by 50 years in Austin, including more than a decade as Dean of the Dean of the Texas Senate. That service laid the groundwork for his successful mayoral race in '23. His old professor is mighty proud of John's achievement and humbled to have played a very small part in launching his distinguished career.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Dr. Murray is very special.
Yeah. Okay, so we've got more pictures. See this one?
Yeah.
Remember you were talking about that handsome young man in the front seat right there? And can you identify some of the other people in the car with you?
Yeah, they were colleagues, Mickey Leland,
Yep, Mickey Leland.
who went on to Congress, then
Yep.
had a tragedy,
Yes,
and Craig Washington,
yes,
who was state reps. And
Abs-
it's Craig's children.
that's right. The one that's pointing his finger is Craig, Washington's son,
And
also
I
named
would
Craig.
guess that's about 74 probably. It was hot.
Yeah, it's hot.
It looks hot.
It's hot. It was surely hot. So let's just look at the timeline. 50 years of service in the Texas legislature.
Yeah.
So first, this is
Yep.
the first
Yeah,
one,
yeah. I can see
sworn
it.
into the Texas House in
Yes, sir.
'73. Then, tell us about this, because this has been an interesting part of your career. When leading the Texas Senate, how did that come about? What was it that motivated you?
Well, I think it's a calling, and I'd quite frankly, to be sworn in at 23 probably was divine intervention, and I mean that seriously. It would be hard to do that again, but I do believe it was a calling, public service in general to this day. You know what's interesting about '73, I've got a comment. You can't imagine the different Texas we lived in. Very rural, very rural. Prison system had 10,000 people. It was self-sustaining. It just was a different world. Dolph Briscoe, a rancher, was the governor. I served in the House with people that would go back to West Texas and farm on the weekend. Of course, and it was pretty much Anglo males. Now it's very diverse, very urban. 130,000 inmates, just to give you, because I've spent so much of my career working on criminal justice. It was just a different state, small. I can't make you feel how small it was. Not very diverse. With that single member districts, things started changing, of course, more women, more minority diversity. And then in '82, my state senator ran for attorney general. So that was my opportunity to move to the Senate. Totally different operation. There's only 31 senators to serve. We have about 31 million now. Back then, in the teens, very influential. Takes 5 House member districts to equal 1 Senate district. So it was a different experience. The first 10 years, I kind of sat on the bench. Bill Hobby from Houston was our lieutenant governor. He kind of thought he had Houston covered. So the Houston senators mostly watched, represented our districts, but he would go outside of Houston for his leadership positions. For political purposes, he found John Montford in Lubbock to be the chairman of finance, and John Sharp, chancellor of A&M, was from Victoria. And I understood it, but I didn't like it, because so many, and I'm certainly, you understand, the ones that are hearing me, a lot of your chance to show what you can do is who is your supervisor and who's in charge puts you in a position of responsibility. So things really took off in '91. Bob Bullock from Hillsborough made me chairman of a committee for the first time, and you get to show your skills of collaboration and working across the aisle and problem solving. And then I was the Intergovernmental Affairs Chairman in '91, which handles city and county issues, which I'm certainly applying to in my current job. And then 2 years later, he made me chairman of criminal justice.
Right.
crack cocaine had entered our streets, and so we had a huge surge in crime. Prison system was overpopulated. It was a revolving door. And he made me chairman. I turned it down at first because I thought the fix was on to ruin my career. It was almost an impossible task. But I surrounded myself with smart people. We came up with policies that were tough for violent offenders, but nonviolent, we decided we'd go the treatment route. And we really lead the nation in so much treatment. We could do a lot better. But I came up, and it's been used across the nation, being tough and smart on crime. You lock up people you're afraid of, not those that you're mad at. The people that you're mad at, you don't give up on them. You treat them. And it's really worked. And for 30 years, I was the only Democratic chair in the Senate as of even last year. I've been in the mayor's office now 8 months. So I resigned my Senate seat. And I do miss my work on criminal justice. It's nothing more rewarding than to have a family call and say, no one will listen to my son down at the Darrington prison south of Houston. He's not getting the insulin he needs. And so you get on the phone, you talk to the warden and start giving him health care. Or they call and say, in the field, the correction officer's horse keeps biting my son. When you first go to prison, they have a line. It's partly, I'm certain, to break you down, let you know where you are. They take you to the field, very harsh conditions. And if you can't keep up, the guard, if he's a bully, and we've made a lot of improvements. You say, well, hell, you've been there 30 years. Why do you let this go? We have made tremendous improvements. But the example I'm using is I had a mother call me and said, my son says if the horse bites him again, he's going to hit him with a hoe. And somebody's going to get really hurt. I get on the phone and I talk to the chaplain and say, you got to intervene. I really miss that. I do a lot of it at the city. You'd be surprised, people that come before city council, I will actually yield the gavel to go somewhere. I love constituent service. It's very, very rewarding.
Yeah.
And I could talk all day
Okay.
because I like what I do.
So what triggered your excitement to run for mayor?
Well, to be honest, I'd thought about it in previous years. Kathy Whitmire was a mayor for 10 years from 81 to 91. She was married to my brother, who died of juvenile diabetes before she ran for office. So I had exposure at City Hall, working with 9 mayors. Bob Lanier was a huge mentor. So I thought about it. In 98, I passed legislation creating the Sports Authority, which built our sports venues. And that was a tough assignment. We got it done, and then the owner of the Astros, Drayton McLean, who I did not know when I was carrying the legislation, I did it for economic development on the east side of downtown. And it's gradually really getting there, particularly what's fixing to happen with George Brown, expanding George Brown, additional hotels. Anyway, in 98, there was a group, Holcomb, you might have been part of that group, saying, you ought to run for mayor. Thought about it for about a week. Lee Brown was recruited back from D.C. on a federal assignment, largely, you want some insider stuff, Sylvester Turner had run against Bob Lanier in 93, almost beat him. So a lot of the power brokers assumed Sylvester would run again in 98 after Lanier, and they recruited Lee Brown to Houston to block Sylvester. And it was pretty successful. Of course, it ended any interest I had because realistically I knew Lee Brown had all the ingredients to get elected mayor. So fast forward, 3 years ago, minding my own business, enjoying my service in the Senate, making a difference. I have grandkids. On a Saturday morning, I'm minding my own business. And Elizabeth Brock, who I brought today, who worked in my Senate office for years, she is our new Metro chair, doing an outstanding job. I wanted someone in that position that is smart, quick, loyal, and would do it for the right reason. She called me on a Saturday morning 3 years ago. A breakfast group had just broken up. Irma Galvan's restaurant owner, Irma, Terry Morales on Metro, and they said, we were playing the name game at our breakfast meeting. Who would follow Sylvester Turner? And there was pushback. I thought Art Acevedo was going to do it. The police chief and I were friends. I was kind of encouraging him to do so. And when they asked me to run that Saturday morning, I said, no, tell them thank you, maybe at one time, but I really like what I'm doing. I'm making a difference. I like my quality of life. Thank you, but not now. Thought that was the end of that. They called the next week, next Saturday morning. We got to break up that coffee group, that breakfast group. They said, what would it take to get you to consider running? I said, well, that's very unfair to ask a public servant that loves people. What would it take to come back and represent this great city with its challenges? And I keep trying to rationalize with her what a great opportunity. And then I said, I'll tell you what, you ask your friends and I'll ask my friends and let's see where it goes. Took off. I called the police association. I called the firemen. Called the minority community. Called the LGBTQ plus community. Everyone would say, Whitmire, you can bring us together. And so I told, part of what I left out was that Saturday morning, I said, what would get me to run is to get in a car with me and let's drive across Houston. The homeless issue drives me nuts. We can do so much better. We must do better. Illegal dumping. I represent areas of Houston. You can't imagine what it looks like from illegal dumping. And then here's a censure. I live by Memorial Park. The circle roundabout on Washington never stops the flow of traffic, and the Conservancy has made Blossom at Westcott the main entrance to the park. Somebody's going to get killed. We're in the process of reconfiguring that intersection. John Whitmire, the citizen, called my city council office 4 years ago and said, this is dangerous. And they said, well, you need to call 311. I said, what the hell is 311? You know, I'm a state senator. When people call me, I fix it. But I call a council, and they refer me to an answering service, literally. I didn't get any results. Then John Whitmire, the senator, called Public Works. They said, well, Senator, we don't have the money, about $100,000. I said, I'll help you find the money. I was going to go to TxDOT or someone. Mm-hmm. They said, so I told them money's not an issue. Then they said, well, we hadn't had enough accidents. So when the group called me and asked me to run, I was ripe to get after the city of Houston. So we started campaigning. It was a challenging campaign. Chris Hollins, who's now controller, was in the race, was not getting a lot of traction. So some power brokers, former friends, pulled him out, put Sheila in, which I think was a huge mistake for Sheila. And she was a great public servant. You know what's so sad in politics? The campaigns are so personal, if you allow them to be. Sheila and I represented the same community for 30 years. She's endorsed me, I've endorsed her, same church banquets, same school programs. And then the next thing I know, some power brokers, the former mayor and others said, well, let's put Sheila in the race. And, I still regret that they did that, but it turned out fine, certainly, I think, for the city of Houston. Y'all just think there was a mess down there. It's plural. There's messes. And I think with my experience and the collaboration, remember I said I work across the aisle. Prior to my election, Houston and even currently the county has no relationship with state government. You have to be able to talk to the governor. You have to be able to talk to the lieutenant governor and speaker. Houston loses out on so much. The Harvey recovery funds from the land commissioner's office. Anyway, I know I'm on a soapbox right now because I feel strongly about it. With my ability to talk to Austin, it's really going to benefit our community. So anyway, fast forward, I look forward to going to work every day, but we have some real challenges, and we have a great city. Let me tell you what, I'm going to leave here a better mayor than the one that got here, because you have energized me by showing me your campus at TMC3. Man, this is something for Houston to be proud of. And Bill, you've done an outstanding job. The vision and the collaboration with Austin and with our local institutions is really, I told Bill, you want to hear this, Insider? We were walking around getting a tour, and I said, I feel like I've gone somewhere. Everything's new. Now, before I finish today, I'm going to challenge everybody, and I'm going to remind y'all, we are going to leave here today. I'm going to a fire station on Pinemont in Oak Forest to eat with some firefighters. And between here and there, I'm going to see Houston challenges, our infrastructure, our public safety, our homeless, our flooding. So we ought to celebrate this. This shows what you can do with vision and resources. But folks, we're going to leave here. And there's a lot of folks that are a lot less fortunate than us. So I'm going to leave here better, fired up. I might even, you almost make me want to go back to the city hall. Because the experiences, the energy, and so many smart people, diverse group of folks that are making a difference, it fires me up. And I'm going to do the state of the city 3 weeks from yesterday. Yep. You're getting a little version of it. We have such a great city and great people. Now, here's an interesting one for you. If I'm going to describe city government as dysfunctional, underfunded, understaffed, short on police and fire, I can go on and on the things that I inherited. How are we such a great city? It's because of institutions like the Medical Center, TMC3, our academic community, our charities. I always name when I say, why are we so great? I mentioned the Med Center, the port, spaceport, our people for sure, our diversity. If we can just get city government up to standards, and we can do it. I'm already making a difference. I know I am. I drove in my driveway in May, and my neighbors run out and high-five me because for the first time in a couple of years, our garbage and recycling was picked up on the same day. So that's a measurement. And what's happening is the morale at City Hall has gotten so much better. We're still under-resourced. We're under a revenue cap like no other city in Texas. And I could even name Austin and San Antonio own their own utilities. They get a huge revenue stream. But because of our revenue cap, when our property values go up, we have to lower our tax rate. We've got to get smart, and we've got to provide for our young people. Hey, folks, we've been discovered. We've been discovered by the world and the nation, and people want to come here, so we've got to get ready. So anyway, I'm excited, and I'm honored to be mayor. It is a tough job. You haven't asked me, but most of the time people say, what's the difference between being a senator and the mayor? No comparison. I never get away from my job. As a senator, we meet in session every other year. You're busy with constituent service, but all day, every day, I'm shuffling in department directors with resource issues, with 2 storms back to back, the freeze last winter, Kingwood flooding, Lakewood shooting. It is 7/24. Now, the good news is I enjoy it. I get to use 50 plus years of governmental service, the ability to pick up the phone and get the lieutenant governor on the phone during the storm. What was happening, and I'm certain so many of you in the room are familiar, because we were without power, the hospitals and the med center were not releasing folks recovering from surgery. They couldn't go home to a house with no energy, so they were backed up in the halls. So our ambulance, our EMSs were backed up in the driveway, and we were running out of ambulances for emergency calls. We were down to 4% of our ambulances to being available. Right. What we did, we got on the phone, and the state emergency center sent us 25 ambulances. Our law enforcement, HPD, was stretched so thin into communities that had been darkened by lack of energy. We got on the phone again, and we got 100 officers from around the state. So I look forward to going to work every day. It's a challenge, but it's very rewarding. And I know we're making a difference, but we have a long ways to go. And I won't talk to you about all the city issues, but Lord knows, quality of life issues, we're going to get there. Public safety. I'm so impressed with the security here today. In fact, I tried to recruit a couple of your officers. That's not a lie. Anyway, I don't know what your question was, but
Wow. All right. It's about loyalty and friendship. Okay. So I thought we'd move into the question
Sure.
session here.
Okay.
And Tatum, I'm waiting for these to be sent across. I'm going to start off with one of them because I know this just from our personal conversations. Things are never what you think they're going to be when you move into a job. Certainly a massive job like running the fourth, soon to be third largest city in the United States. What are the things you were most surprised about? And were there any pleasant surprises along the way, or were they all not enough money, not enough things in place? Because that's, imagine, has dominated the first 7 months of your time.
First of all, you can't imagine, even going back to the campaign, how large Houston is, how diverse Houston is. And every community has their candidate for them. So you got to be in Kingwood early in the evening, in Mireland in the evening. I mean, in the diversity. And it's not just African Americans. There's a caucus of Africans that want to talk to you about relationship between Houston and Africa. And of course, I've represented the African American communities, kept me in office starting back when I was 22. I learned very early the African American community will give young people an opportunity, and that's the reason they put me on their shoulder. But the surprising thing is the size of Houston. We talk about our diversity, but I lived it during the campaign, and I'm trying to live up to it now. One of my real problems is, as a state rep and a state senator, I went wherever I was asked to go. State rep, when I was there, was about 100,000 people. Senators, about 500,000. So if the school wanted me, I was there. If a church wanted me, I was there. Lord knows I'm still trying to do that. Except it's 2.3 million people, 600 square miles. So just communicating with people is a real challenge now. And that's part of the pleasure, by the way. You know, one of my best enjoyments is our housekeepers. Nobody's ever spoken to them. Surely y'all picked up by now. I love people. And I will see some lady over in a corner of the hall doing housekeeping, just like I do the valet parkers. Do y'all know what a thrill it is for a valet to pull up to Tony's or somewhere where there's a reception? Instead of going into the door, seeing all the VIPs, head to the valet. They love it. And I love it because they love it. Yeah. So now let me tell you the hard part and the challenge, which we're all in this together. I've determined, and I know for a fact, so much of what's been run in the city is spin. Let me give you an example. One Safe Houston. That was the previous administration's spin. One Safe Houston. You know, they do a gun buyback program to make you think they're doing something. They ain't the first crook sold or turned in his gun. We have challenges for public safety. Thousands of officers short. And you're not going to fix it until you admit it's a problem. You can't tell people, oh, we're safe, because you and I know most of us have altered our lifestyle because we don't feel safe. I'm in the Heights at a restaurant. Seniors come up to me and say, Senator, you've got to do something. We don't leave the house after dark. Families come up to me and say, we don't take the kids to the park. Now, we don't have to live like that. Great cities fix their problems. But I got there and found out One Safe Houston does not admit our challenges for public safety. The cancer cluster in Fifth Ward that got so much attention, rightfully so, although there's a debate to the degree of the cluster, they want to relocate 45 families. I had to deal with it in my first week because there's no funding to relocate these families. The previous administration says, well, we're going to relocate the families. First of all, they don't want to go anywhere. 45 families were designated to move. Only 9 families wanted to relocate. So we have to be very transparent. We're not going to fix things. City finances. Folks said you inherited a $400 million surplus. one-time federal funding. I actually took office in January with a $160 million shortfall. And we're working every angle to come up with additional revenue to fund next year. And it's going to be a challenge. And before we get through, I'm going to tell you what you can do to help me. When I start rolling out some bold initiatives, I need your help. I can't do it by myself. But I was really disappointed. Solar farm in Sunnyside. They went out there, the city, on top of a former landfill, had the community believing they were going to do a solar farm there, create some jobs. Guess what? The developer they gave the contract to has no financing, and he doesn't even have a buyer for the energy. So I'm having to deal with spin where I deal with reality. Nobody in recent time that I can think of will talk to you like I am. I'm letting you own with me our challenges, our infrastructure. If you knew how fragile our water supply is at the East Side Water Treatment Plant, I asked my team, what would shut down Houston? You know, you ought to think in your own mind, what would bring Houston to its knees? I'm talking about public safety and things that are important. Water. Jackson, Mississippi lost its water supply because its treatment plant was old. Nobody has painted an accurate picture in recent times of Houston's challenges with our infrastructure. We know about our streets, and we're going to get to them, and we're partnering with Metro. But we have some real service challenges, things, you know, I get a call at 4 o'clock in the morning. You might have gotten the same call I got in the spring. 12-inch water pipe was broken over on Fannin. Methodist at 4 was trying to decide, could the city respond quick enough that they could have their operations that day? We can't continue to operate like that. So I'm going to have some proposals for revenue. I'm not going to do it until I can tell you I've cut out waste, duplication, and some stealing. You know, people have been indicted because they got $80 million worth of water drainage contracts, construction contracts, working out of an apartment. Kim Ogg indicted them. There's still some of that to be discovered. So when I do all that, by next spring, I'm going to tell you I've done everything I can. We're collaborating with the county to save money. There's 3 commissioners that are partnering with me, Briones, Ramsey, and Garcia. Ramsey said, Whitmire, in my precinct inside the city, we'll pay half the cost to resurface the streets. It's working. Nobody's done it this way. The state collaboration. Austin wants the city and me to be successful. The governor's from Houston, Patrick's from Houston, but they didn't know when to talk. The corporate community. You think I'm not going to let Chevron and others buy an ambulance for us? We might have to put their name on the side of it, but that's okay. Ambulance furnished by Chevron, I don't care. It's just bringing folks together. In the corporate community, you work closely with them.
Yes.
They've told me, nobody's really asked us to help. Well, they're being asked right now. Now, what I've got to do is pace myself. I didn't limp up here today, but I've had a knee problem, but I'm getting some good physical therapy. But anyway,
What time did you get?
I've got to take better care of myself. I'm in good shape, whatnot, but my friends and family say you can't help others if you don't take care of yourself.
Yep.
I've got to really do a little better job of pacing myself, because you can tell right now I'm getting fired up. You know, I'm really.
So Mayor, let me ask
So
you.
anyway, I know I'm talking about a lot of issues, but we really do have a great city. Go ahead, Bill.
What time did you get up this morning?
Sir,
What time did you get up this morning?
I hate to admit it, I woke up at 3 and couldn't go back to sleep.
Yeah.
And
All right.
that's becoming
We can help
too
you with
common.
that.
You know what's interesting? When you get up at 3 or 4, I've got a list of other people that do that. I've got a little delegation of people that I know I can call at 4 o'clock.
All right, so I'm going to go, this is rapid fire. This is the end, because I know
Yeah.
we're getting close.
Yeah.
Your time. And I have to warn you that this is coming from your constituents. So these questions are not normal questions that anyone gets. So let's kick it off.
I'm ready.
Do you have any other pets?
Pets?
Pets. I told
You know, remember I told you when I lived in Hillsborough, I had one of everything. I don't, quite frankly, have the luxury of having pets right now because When I was in the Senate, I traveled a lot,
Right.
but now I'm just, I can't handle pets.
Okay.
I
What
let
is-
my grandkids have them and my friends. There is one of our challenges, animal welfare. We have a really dysfunctional animal system, which we got to do a better job of.
I love that. What is your best
many-
advice on finding a mentor?
A mentor?
A mentor. I'm sure you've had some great mentors in your career.
Dr. Murray, Bob
Yeah.
Bullock. How do you find one?
Yeah.
Be nice. You know, people will treat you the way you treat them. I really know that to be a fact. Be inclusive. I wish I was a better listener. I could say, I'd say you could probably get more mentors if you'd listen more, which I've never experienced. That, I don't know. I think be nice. I was taught to treat people the way you want to be treated. It really does work.
What made you decide not to be a lawyer and move to oil and gas?
And do what?
Move to oil and gas. These
I
are
don't know, they
not.
got me mixed up with somebody else. I am a lawyer,
Yes.
and about all I know about.
Okay, raise your hand if you
Hey,
asked that dumb question. I just like to call it out.
I buy oil and gas. That's about all I know.
We'll shame the bad questions.
I know we're very fortunate, and it's unfortunate that Chevron decides to bring its headquarters here, and we got people criticizing it.
All right, I've got some better ones. What is Houston going to look like in 2029?
29?
Yes.
I thought you were going to ask me like 20 or 30 years from now. 29. It's going to be run better, more efficiently. It's going to be diverse. We've been discovered, and we've got to get ready. You know, with the World Cup coming, we're on world stage, which we've got to get ready for. You'll be reading about my comments in a few weeks. The Sports Authority and some of the stakeholders are not getting as ready for the World Cup as they need to be. And I'll be laying that out very clear in a few weeks. Bill, I don't know, 29, you know, obviously what goes on in the world impacts us. We're definitely an international city. I don't get off on international affairs, but you know, my generation, I can remember in elementary getting under a desk because we were practicing for a nuclear.
That's right. Yep.
I think it kind of screwed up my generation, quite frankly. Can you imagine being a second grader and being told, get under the desk, we got 20 minutes, the Russians have launched.
Yeah. We had a bomb shelter and extra.
Yeah, that'll mess you up. And I was so fortunate, I thought, or pleased that I thought, well, my kids, because of the Cold War ended, and now I'm worried about my grandkids. Same concerns I had as a kid about world affairs. And, of course, I'm getting drug into them as a mayor, should not be, but the Palestinians are protesting at my house. Last Friday night, 11 o'clock at night, I had 20 protesters. It's just not right. I signed on for this job, which didn't include that, but I at least accepted the job. My neighbors didn't. With drums and bullhorns to be there in my sidewalk at 11 o'clock at night, because I will not get involved in the Gaza tragedy. So anyway, I bring that up because I think we're going to continue to be impacted by the international conflicts and opportunities. You know, you were telling me 1/4 of the
1 in 4
1 in 4 of your
employees here
center
are foreign born.
personnel and scientists are from
All around the world.
around the world. That's going to continue.
No.
But traffic will continue to be a challenge. We've got to do something about flooding. There's no easy solution. We can do a better job at the city on our drainage in our communities. You know, Harvey type experience, you probably can't get prepared. They are building Ike Dike toward the Gulf Coast. I've kind of challenged my friends that are pushing that. You know, Ike Dike, $30 billion. My hurricanes will probably go around it or over it, but the engineers say it's going to work. So anyway, that's fine. We've got to do a better job here on the west side. During Harvey, most of the flooding came from the reservoir releases. So we need to expand our reservoirs on the west side. Back to that community drainage. Do you know how many of your storm sewers in your neighborhood are probably working at about 30% capacity because of clippings, grass clippings put in there, no maintenance program? Probably the last time anyone had a drainage maintenance program was Bob Lanier back in the early 90s. So we can do better there. Flooding is going to continue to be a challenge. Public safety, we're going to improve. You know how we're going to improve public safety? You think I don't have an eye on your officers? 122. They do such a great job on your campus.
Yeah, they really do.
What if they went a couple of blocks over? We have 86 law enforcement agencies in the city of Houston.
Right.
You've got one of the best. But we got to leave here in a little while.
Yeah.
U of H has about 100. TSU, Rice, every school district. Metro has 300 officers. The problem is they don't talk to each other. If we could get Metro Police to kind of branch out off of their rail line, which quite frankly they're not keeping safe, and if we had HPD willing to go on to Metro, if we would collaborate and share resources, we got thousands, probably 10,000, I'm not going to cite an exact number, of law enforcement officers that don't even have the ability to talk to each other on the radio. Yeah. What these officers get in trouble over on North Main, how do they get a hold of the constable's office? So I'm working on that. Yeah. Collaboration of law enforcement is going to make this a safer community, which is still my highest priority. 29, third will be the third largest city. I think the migration from California, New York is going to continue. We have to get ready. We have a great city, great people. And if we get city government, which is my responsibility with you, to start functioning at a really top level, nothing's going to hold Houston back. It'd be amazing. I get so excited thinking about it. I just wish I could be here 20 or 30 years from now, which, unless y'all are doing something in some of these damn labs around here.
We can fix that too.
Unless up on the third floor, they got some magic going on. But my responsibility is to get it ready for these young people, and we have really some of the best and brightest folks, and people are coming here. We're attracted folks. Yeah. So thank you. Like I said, I'm going to leave here a better mayor than the one that got here. And that's not embellishing anything.
Well, for the rest
this is a model. And everyone present ought to be really proud. Now, we got to share it. We got to make sure everyone has an opportunity to go to TMC3 and get a well-paying job and do miracles. And we have challenges. I keep talking about infrastructure and assets. The people, there are communities in this city that want their first sidewalk. Yeah. That don't have insurance, don't have access to health care. We can't let Houston become the haves and the have-nots. And there's probably too much of it already. Anyway.
Well, Mayor, I want to thank you for not just the 40 years of service to the state, but it's very apparent how fired up you are. We've had many conversations before. For the rest of the group, Mayor spent really the afternoon with us. So he's not just here for a speech, he was here to learn more. And so we spent a lot of time talking about the medical center and where we're moving. And so you've been a great supporter, and we also will need your support on many things going forward, because this is just the cornerstone of the growth that you're going to see here. So thank you so much for all you do and the dedication and the sacrifice you've made through it your whole life. And thank you for spending the time with us here tonight.
Thank you. That was fun.